Prayers. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their church.
Amen. Item 2 on the other paper, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, once more, I want to welcome you to this afternoon's sitting. This is the first time we are sitting since the year began. As we approach the 9 months since we were sworn in as members of 11th Parliament, I urge you to execute your roles as the people's representatives with diligence, dedication, as we continue to shape and reshape the future of this country. I want to welcome you back and wish you a happy new year. Honorable members, pursuant to Section 9, subsection 5 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 and Rule 144 of the Rules of Procedure, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development tabled a budget framework paper for the period 2022, 2023, 2026, 2027 on 21st December 2021. This paper was referred to the Budget Committee and various sectoral committees. Rule 145 subsection 2 of the Rules of Procedure require the sectoral committees to consider the National Budget Framework paper and report the Budget Committee not later than 20th day of January. I commend the sectoral committees that have tirelessly worked during this period to consider the national budget National Budget Framework paper. I want to thank you, members. I saw members here running up and down, busy with the sectoral committees. I commend you for that. Despite the COVID situation that we have been, but at least we've managed to do that. In furtherance of Rule 145, subsection 3, that requires the Budget Committee to scrutinize the National Budget Framework paper and report from the sectoral committees and report to the House before or by 1st of February of a financial year. Today we shall consider the report of the Budget Committee on the National Budget Framework paper. In the same vein, I want to commend the Budget Committee, though they have not yet finished, for making sure that we meet the constitutional timelines. We should not be seen to be the first parliament that has failed to meet the constitutional timelines as per the Public Finance Management Act. Honorable members, as we strive to appropriate the budgetary resources in pursuant to the balanced growth and national transformation, we need to be cognizant of the threat of COVID-19. That has, over the last 2 years, wrecked the economy. And when we are doing that, we should be cognizant of that and look at the challenges that we have gone through and consider that in whatever we are doing. On a third note, because of this COVID-19, most of our people have lost relatives. We've lost friends. We've lost colleagues, one of which was the one we had this morning. But we also lost one of our colleagues who was with us in this house. That was Honorable Arinda Gordon, a former member of parliament of Bushenyi Chishaka, who was laid to rest and he died of this deadly disease. I still urge members to be careful. Observe the SOPs. When you feel any slight difference in your body, kindly seek for medical attention. Can we, and I have got messages of even our members of parliament who have lost relatives. You know, Jim has lost a sister. Most of us have lost relatives during this period. Can we stand up for a moment of silence in memory of those who passed on?
May the souls of the departed rest in eternal peace.
Amen. Thank you so much. Members, we have a congested order paper, and how I pray that when we are debating, we debate to the point. Matters of national importance, I have 3 people. Yes. Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, as you may recall, and all members may recall, about 2 weeks ago, a police officer in the names of Robert Mukebezi was shot while he was on duty on a Sunday. Right Honorable Speaker, you took it upon yourself and you delegated me on behalf of the Parliamentary Commission to go and visit this police officer in hospital, and which I did, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, while there, we made a commitment to the police officer and to the family of the police officer and to Ugandans that when we reconvene Parliament, the first thing that we shall request would be the Minister of Internal Affairs and the Minister of Security to come and explain this unfortunate incidents, Right Honorable Speaker. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, when I was looking through the order paper, I did not see this. Wouldn't it be procedurally right for us, Right Honorable Speaker, as we are going to handle the congested business of today's House, to invite the Minister concerned to come and give us a statement as Parliament on these unfortunate incidents where a police officer was shot and the constable lost a leg and is now having 1 leg? Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Silwanye. I saw it on news that a police officer was shot by an army officer while on duty. And I took it upon myself to check, who is this person? What kind of impunity is this, that another officer can shoot the other? And that's when I sent the commissioner to the hospital. He had an interaction with the family. I personally called the family to check on how the patient was. The gentleman lost his leg is a breadwinner. His children have not gone to school. He's in hospital. And it would be prudent enough for us to hear from government on what happened, how far you've gone with the investigation, and what is the way forward.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
There is a... Yes, what is it?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Is there a word in the order in the rules saying before?
No. It's
Okay,
upon
go
your
ahead.
discretion. It's upon your discretion, Right Honourable Speaker.
Go ahead, go
And
ahead.
I thank
go
you.
ahead.
I greet you in the name of the Lord and honour members.
Amen.
Right Honourable Speaker, as the minister comes on, there are a number of issues dealing with Yame. Of recent, we've seen a senior journalist clad in an army uniform commanding an army in the DRC. And all these are issues. We have a number of national unity platform members, supporters, who are court-martialed for wearing a red belt. Recently, there's another soldier who knocked a civilian again in an army vehicle. So all these issues are rotating on the army. But the issue of Andrew Mwenda wearing an army uniform to the extent of sitting in a chopper, yet he has never hired an arrow and a bow by himself, is unprecedented. He's supposed to be court-martialed. All the other issues, we wanted the minister to come as a response to know why Mwenda is still at large when Chitalia is full of national platform supporters putting on a mere red belt which is not anywhere against the laws of this country. So, Honourable Speaker, all those issues.
Honorable Seungu, I appreciate your concern. But the question, the issue that was raised by Honorable Silwani, let that one be handled first. It is about life. Somebody has lost one leg. The family is suffering. Let's first put that one aside of the uniform. Yeah, I didn't see the uniform. But if anybody saw the uniform, where did you report? Have you reported anywhere? To police? Give me the reference number.
Right Honourable Speaker, I have called the Army Commander, I've called the Minister of Defence, is born from Karungu.
Madam Speaker, the commander for Operation Suja, Kayanja Mohanga, is Mwenda's big brother. And in a country where families conduct public affairs like family, because you have a minister of foreign affairs, but you saw the president dispatching his son to go to Rwanda to conduct foreign affairs. Is the Honorable Sewung in order not to know that in this country, if your brother is in charge of an operation, you become a deputy. If you are a president, matters of foreign affairs, you can send the family members. Is in order.
Honorable members, this is a very serious matter. We need, what Honorable Seungu has said is very important. But what we want an explanation on what the commissioner raised. In the same vein, an army truck knocked 2 girls. Those 2 girls were also amputated. One died. What is that we don't understand? That's what we need to understand. Government, can we understand what is happening? Because if you're saying the person is still at large, how difficult is it to arrest that person? The one of the accident, we can imagine it was an accident. But this one of shooting, picking a gun and you shoot a poor man while executing his duty. Can we have a statement from government Yes, Honorable Basalira.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I want to thank you and to emphasize the issue raised by the Commissioner. But, Right, Honourable Speaker, maybe perhaps government should consider, over and above that specific issue, should consider addressing the issue of human rights violations in a broad sense in this country. Right, Honourable Speaker, I am a practicing lawyer, and every day the courts are being moved to issue orders of unconditional release of people who are being illegally detained. Courts are issuing orders directing that people in police and army custody be subjected to medical treatment because of torture. The Kakwenzi story is still fresh. So, Right Honourable Speaker, there is a big human rights problem in the country that government should come and address over and above the army. We are only citing one aspect which is very important, but government needs to come out and address the issue of violation of human rights by security agencies at large. Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Yes, Imat.
Thank you, Right Honourable. We have a committee on human rights, and usually the committee report is laid on table and we are not given opportunity to discuss. Right Honourable Speaker, if we take trouble to read these reports individually, we find that it's loaded with a lot of facts which, if discussed, could really help us change some of the behaviors or the excesses of the soldiers, the military personnel. So I would beg you, Right Honourable Speaker, if we could have an opportunity to discuss the human rights reports so that we can understand why do the police abuse the rights of the people whom they are supposed to protect. Why is the army behaving the way the army is behaving? Could it be there could be some administrative problems? Maybe these people are not being properly facilitated. Maybe they have welfare problems, which we need to address. Accommodation problems, family problems, we need to address all that holistically. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I beg the House to take time and we study the human rights reports. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Cecilia. I really don't think if you're not facilitated, whether you're not happy, that you should go on rampage and just shoot somebody you find on the road. Government.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. This was a very, very unfortunate incident. I also saw it in the media. And I want to thank you for taking that
Members,
personal initiative.
It is free sitting. Don't squeeze yourselves. COVID is still real.
I want to thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Keep social distance.
I want to thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for taking a personal initiative coming to the rescue of our fellow Ugandan. Right Honourable Speaker, I request you give us 1 week. We come and we report back to the House, giving a comprehensive statement on the matter. I thank you.
The report I want from government is on the action taken on the culprit, on how far they've gone with the treatment of the person, compensation issues, all those welfare of the family. That is the report that we need. We may not be able to get it in one day. Pardon?
Yeah, thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I am happy that you directed the the government on what is expected of them. And also, Right Honourable Speaker, right now when we are moving along the road, the police traffic officers are so fearful. After realizing that you're a member of parliament, they normally tell us to air out their voice that dealing with UPDF is becoming a tug of war. Right now, the army officers do not respect police officers on the checkpoint. Their vehicle comes.
Yes.
Sometimes if they take long to make way, they could even crush them on the way. Right Honourable Speaker, let the UPDF respect our police officers. The police are doing their duties on the road, but UPDF, they take themselves as being alpha and omega. I get the information.
You see, what you're saying is a hearsay. But the truth is, these people must be brought to order. I will not take what you've said. It is a hearsay. Even me, now I fear because anything can happen. But these people should be brought to order.
Thank you.
First, introduce yourself.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is Chemaswet Kisos, MP for Soy County. Thank you, Honorable Gilbert Olanya, for accepting the information. Madam Speaker, the rights of a soldier is in the barracks. The rights of UPDF is not within the civilian life. And that is why the issue of military officers who are not police putting on uniform within or among civilians is not acceptable at all. The question of social media should not be part of UPDF, and especially Twitter accounts, Facebook. Military officers should not be managing those accounts at all. We have UPDF spokesperson who should be managing the affairs of the UPDF. A precedent has been set whereby other military officers are reading accounts of senior military officers violating the rights of civilians and speaking recklessly about the affairs of the army. And we must desist from this. And in fact, we will spoil the army if every other person makes comments pertaining the military. And big officers must cease from this. And Madam Speaker, right, proceed.
Right Honourable Speaker, the honourable member is talking in parables. He's talking of the army officers on Twitter, social media. Can he be specific? So is he in order to just speak in tongues and spoiling the name of the army in general without pinpointing those on social media or Twitter when they're not supposed to be there? Is he in order?
I am not sure whether he's a right person to do that because he's a deserter himself. Government, this is a very serious matter. Very serious. It concerns all of us. Please, give us a response. Yes.
Right Honourable Speaker, I don't always do this, but I want to seek clarification from the government chief whip. And it is because, Right Honourable Speaker, when you delegated me to go to the hospital to see this family, Right Honourable Speaker, it is only you who personally sent a contribution for treatment to this family. The clarification I want to seek from the government chief whip, ever since this person was shot, what has government done. Right Honourable Speaker, sincerely speaking, it is now coming to about, this is the third week, because we were in recess. Of course, Government Chief Whip is asking for a week, but before you ask for a week, what has government done? What has been done so far? In brief, so that we know as Parliament that we are moving on the right track. Because to be on record, it is only the Right Honourable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, who sent a small package from her personal, and I want to really thank you for this, to the hospital. What has government done?
Right Honourable Speaker, I don't want to go into speculation where a colleague is pushing me. I've requested for 1 week, and in 1 week he will get all the information he needs.
Honorable Government Chief Whip, as you report in 1 week, I know humane as you are. Kindly pass via Victoria Hospital and check on that young man. Thank you. Tom Alero.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and my dear colleagues.
There is a procedure matter. I'm about to nickname.
Madam Speaker, you did promise this Parliament that you will follow the matter of our 2 colleagues who are in jail. I remember late Mayanja was jailed by former President Milton Obote, and he didn't allow him to get out. The 2 colleagues have visited them, and many colleagues have visited them. We were promised a speedy trial, that evidence was available. They are not being tried. You've spoken about issues of COVID. Madam Speaker, since you personally, as our leader, promised that you will follow their matter and brief Parliament, I was wondering whether it wouldn't be procedure right for you, since you made an undertaking, to brief us on their fate, because we have had MPs arrested before and Parliament intervened. Probably we'll have MPs arrested tomorrow and we'll need Parliament to intervene. That's the procedural issue I am raising, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We communicated both in writing and verbally to the President on the issue requesting for speedy trial of the members, since they could not be given bail, and from that time we have not got any feedback. I am going to once more make a follow-up, and I will give you a feedback. I will also ask the Attorney General, who is the government, who is an advisor to government, to be here to give a report on that. But we've done our best. We wrote and we communicated, but there's some information that we've shared with their lawyers on our findings, which we cannot discuss here. But in the next sitting, we'll ask Attorney General to come and give the House a feedback on that. On the same? No, I'm talking about my members, the 2. Okay.
Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank you for the effort and in trying to seek for freedom for our colleagues. Again, this should really go beyond our 2 colleagues, the Honourable Segrinya and the Honourable Sewanyana. They are part of us. They are entitled to all their rights. But Right Honourable Speaker, maybe perhaps as the Attorney General and government address this issue, there are many people languishing in prisons. They have been remanded. Some have been there for 5 years, 8, 10. I and Honorable Somuju are fortunate to have been political prisoners in Luzera. But when we were there are people we left there many years ago. They are still there. I represent Muslims, Right Honorable Speaker, who were arrested from Bujiri and other parts of the country. Those Muslims up to now have never been brought to court even for mention of their cases. So it is a serious problem that goes beyond our colleagues. Could Right Honorable Speaker, in your request to the Attorney General and government, explain this idea of arresting people without evidence and then investigating later? It undermines our criminal justice system. We cannot be a country that arrests people, then look for evidence after the arrests. And you keep people on remand for 5, 10 years. By the time they are released, their lives are shattered.
Honorable Basalirwa, that will be answered by the Attorney General when he comes.
I thank you,
I am going to
Retron.
give him the information, and then he will explain to this House. He's a legal advisor to the country, because he ought to know the law more than anybody else, and he will be able to do that. And maybe what we need to do is just to put down what we need him to respond to, and then we forward it to him. Is that okay? Yes, Lord.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for indulgence. The subject matter of rights, arrests, it really brings this House into a kind of cold. And with your indulgence, I would beseech you to give the Attorney General a timeline to report to the House. I did table on the floor of this House a list of citizens that have disappeared for more than a year. A list of citizens that have never been produced in any court for more than a year. And those that were produced in an arbitrary court somewhere in somebody's house and remanded in various prisons. They are all on the record of this Parliament, Right Honourable Speaker. And Right Honourable Speaker, at the beginning of this Parliament, the House Speaker promised this House to have a debate on the Uganda we want to see over the coming years. Probably this debate may not arise soon. But let me say this in a minute. Right Honourable Speaker, there is a political contest in this country. And this country and the contest attendant is legitimate. The ruling party has elected to settle the contest by arresting, detaining, and torturing those opposed to it as a way of settling the contest. And as members of Parliament, we must express our position on this subject as to whether, because we are either beneficiaries, tasked or direct from the torture, the arrest, illegal arrest and detention of citizens without being produced in court, and therefore shall continue being part and watch and then ask people to come here and make flowery statements and we go home, Right Honourable Speaker. The Attorney General should come and inform us the position of the ruling party in settling the political question in this country. Every day, there are NUP supporters are arrested countrywide. From Kasese 2 weeks ago, 3 were picked. They are not known to be in any prison, not in any court. They were taken by men in uniform. These are very cheering stories, Right Honourable Speaker. We are planning, on my side, we are ready with a motion to the House. I want to put the House on notice to investigate the abuse of people's rights in this country over the last 2 years, so that we can give the country a platform, people a platform to come and express their grievances in the face of a state apparatus that is unable to confront a political question, but has elected to settle it using the military, so that citizens eventually can decide the fate of this country. Right, Honourable Speaker. I so submit.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. Definitely we will have that moment of brutal truth and honesty one day in this House. We will talk and heal ourselves. The Attorney General, Government Chief Whip, Attorney General should report to the House with the issues raised in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time. I know why I'm saying 2 weeks.
Much obliged, right?
He's not in the country. Can I have Azza?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and my dear colleagues. I rise on an urgent matter of national importance, and the issue is about the decision by UNRWA and Ministry of Works to conduct a major mechanical maintenance on the current Laropi ferry connecting Adjumani, Moyo, Obongi, Yumbe, Congo, and as far as South Sudan for communication. As I talk now, we have already received letters from Ministry of Works to the effect that the ferry has to be grounded so that it can be mechanically maintained. Madam Speaker, secondly, there was a time when the Obongi ferry was also suspended from operating, and this has affected traffic flow between Adjumani, Arua, Congo, as well as South Sudan. So the suspension of the operation of these 2 ferries has affected the whole of Western Nile sub-region up to Sudan and up to Congo, and this is bound to paralyze business as well as trade in these areas. What is the implication of this? Number one, Madam Speaker, the ferry is like a bridge. And once there's no bridge, of course, there'll be no communication and no business. Secondly, Madam Speaker, Moyo General Hospital normally refers patients, emergency patients, to Gulu, to Lacho Hospital, others to Kampala, and of course others to various hospitals within Kampala as well as Molago Hospital. Secondly, we are hosting refugees. And as you're aware, the traffic flow there is so dense, so much so that really, if the ferry is suspended at this material time, then our refugees are going to face problems. We have been given alternative route, that is via Arua. Madam Speaker, that is over 1,000 kilometers to Kampala. How can we cope up with that?
So
this is going to lead to retardation. My prayers, Madam Speaker. Number one, if the Ministry of Works or UNRWA wants to service our ferry, then they should bring out an alternative ferry to replace the one that is going to be repaired. Secondly, I know there's already an arrangement where there's going to be building of bridge at Laropi in Moyo district. I would therefore request the Minister of Works to fast track the procurement process for the construction of this bridge at Laropi in Moyo district so that we can be able to move and communicate. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Government.
Information.
To who?
Thank you, Right Honorable.
You give information when somebody is still on the floor, not when he has finished. Yes?
Honorable, I appreciate the issue raised by my colleague, Honorable Tom Azza. And I really appreciate the facts he has brought out, that the ferry is being taken for repair, which is to improve safety and ensuring that our people are safe. Because the moment we continue with the ferry which is not repaired and not in safe conditions, we might have a catastrophe. What is very important, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm going to liaise with the Minister responsible for works to see if we can have an alternative, but also I understand that ferry is fairly new. It won't take long being repaired, but I'm going to refer the issues so that next week on Tuesday, we report back.
Thank you. Give us a feedback on Tuesday. Honorable Wanda Richard, Robert Megade. Propua, we are on matters of national importance.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on a matter of national importance. Right Honorable Speaker, and this concerns the increasing piracy on Lake Victoria. Right Honorable Speaker, as you know, I represent a fishing community. Since the beginning of December to now, 62 boat engines have been stolen from Buvuma alone, and I know the case is not any
Honorable
better.
Tinker, I want the government chief whip to be attentive.
Right Honorable Speaker, the case is not any better as far as Namayingo, Karangala, and the other island districts are concerned. The boat engine is 10 million, so 62 engines in one district, that's over 600 million. And we will continue to encourage our people to use legal gear, the acceptable fishing methods. There is no way how we shall push this forward when whatever they buy is what is picked from them. These people have gone ahead. Nowadays, they even pick fuel. They simply come with a boat and they go on a big boat, they go on picking fuel from every boat, and they leave these boats floating. I've contacted the police in the district and in the region, and they're saying they don't have capacity to respond to issues on the lake. My prayers are one, Right Honorable Speaker, it is a cardinal role of government to protect people and their property. And so I call upon Ministry maybe of Internal Affairs, one, to brief this Parliament on which steps our people should take and that government is taking to ensure safety of their property. Then two, in the past, Right Honorable Speaker, such things have happened before, and the community has worked out a formula where they do patrols themselves as a community. Since the UPDF entered the lake, the Fisheries Protection Force, they have disbanded all these initiatives. So my prayer is that government briefs this Parliament on how and when they are going to ensure that this stops. And Honorable Speaker, my last prayer, previously we have given directives to ministers, and some appear 6 months later to bring statements here. My appeal is that if it will go that way, our people would have lost more. So my appeal is that you direct with a timeline so that the relevant minister can come and brief this Parliament. I so pray.
Thank you. Government Chief Whip.
Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Migade, my colleague, made a clear prayer that he would want the minister to come here and brief the House. And I'm going to ensure that is done in a week's time.
Yes, Honorable Gwa.
Right Honorable Speaker, we have entered a new year, and I'm sure all of us in our individual capacity worked on our New Year resolutions. And I believe that members of the cabinet did the same. Right Honorable Speaker, we seem to be going through the same situation we faced in the year 2021, when the ministers, although we increased the numbers of ministers, and I'm one of those who uncomfortably supported the motion to increase the number of ministers. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, we would want our government chief whip to remain alive. He is now holding the docket of so many ministers, and a human being cannot manage every situation the government chief whip. The same thing happened with Ruth Nankibirwa until we rebuked her on the floor of Parliament, that every minister earns a salary. So why should you come and work for them? So, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm seeing it happening now with our new whip. We have all worked on our New Year resolutions, and I would like the cabinet ministers to come up to give us at least some good impression that they have changed.
Thank you, Honorable Cecilia Senior, for giving way. Honorable Speaker, I managed to attend the budget committee when we were passing supplementaries for different entities and ministries. These ministers were coming in full number there. And you could see them. Minister of Education, apart from the First Lady, they were all there. You go to Finance, Defense, Trade, Energy, all of them apart from the Chief Whip. So what I'm saying, Madam Speaker, if I'm giving the honourable member, is that when it comes to the issue of supplementary and the money, they are alive and kicking. When it comes to parliamentary work, nothing. But when you go outside there, they have their vehicles full of sirens, making noise and leading cars. Ministers are not supposed to have these vehicles. But we give them away. We suffer with our vehicles. Their policemen push us out of the road. Yet the right of way is for you, Madam Speaker, and some few other people. So that's what is happening. I saw Honorable, my brother here. He was there for the supplementary. Why do you come for supplementary? When it comes to parliamentary work, after getting the money, you refuse to carry out your job.
Thank you for the information. Thank you for the information. Right Honorable Speaker.
Can we conclude on that?
Yes. My neighbor had some urgent issue.
Right Honourable Speaker, it is information that I was giving to Mama. Right Honourable Speaker, you chair the Appointments Committee. I am a member of the Appointments Committee. And the information I want to give Right Honourable Speaker is that there was an undertaking from these ministers who appeared. Because whoever came to be approved, there was a concern on attendance of Parliament. And they all undertook to behave. Unfortunately, they seem to have reneged on their undertaking. The information I want to give you, Mama, is that these ministers have now turned out to be untruthful because they have reneged from their undertaking. When they were in the Appointments Committee, they were very humble. They said they will be coming to the House all the time. That's the information I want to give.
Thank you for the information. Right Honorable Speaker, the information probably I would want to add on to my submission, Right Honorable Speaker, is that we now know who are the people's ministers. When you look at them, they are the same. There is this Andrew who was yesterday ours, Nankibirwa, our usual Bahati, and then our former Minister of Internal. They are the same. Now, where are the others? So these are the people's ministers, and we are, Right Honorable Speaker, we must come up with performance assessment of these ministers, and the President must listen to us.
Members, the issue has been taken. Honorable Taiwa, it is really a fact that we need the ministers in the House. One time when I walked out of here because there were no ministers, I want you to listen to this. It is the same ministers who went running to cabinet saying I'm mistreating them. They went to cabinet and said I was mistreating them. In instead of coming to defend, there is a budget framework paper for their ministries. Instead of coming to defend, you're in an air-conditioned office. Next item.
Item 3 on the other paper, bills first reading, Roman 1, the supplementary appropriation number 4 bill 2021.
There is a procedural matter.
Madam Speaker, the attendance of ministers to Parliament in our rules, at least Rule 50, is mandatory. And generally in our rules, matters of urgent attention are not supposed to be brought back. They are supposed to be responded to immediately. If you look at our order paper, for example, item 9, it has responses by ministers to urgent questions. Yet urgent questions are supposed to be responded to instantly. So the procedure issue I'm raising, because this touches on our work and performance as an institution. We come here with a very big order paper that has matters that are supposed to have been dealt with. I sympathize with the Honorable Taiwan. I have said it many times. Every matter, and this is what Honorable Bahat used to do. So every matter, it's like they have to go and inform others. Today, his work has been to take notice on behalf of others. They will come, they will come, they will come. So, Madam, the procedure issue I am raising after citing the rules is whether this Parliament must not take a stand about the attendance of ministers. Yet our rules say they must attend. Shall, actually the word shall.
The government chief whip has taken note of that. And the next time, government must take a position on this matter. I mean, Parliament must take a position on this matter. We must take a position on whether we need ministers in the House or we don't need them. You get it, eh? The rules are very clear. Next.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay on the table the supplementary appropriations bill number 4 of 2021. I beg to lay. It is accompanied by the certificate of financial implications.
Is it 2021 or 2022?
Sorry, Madam Speaker, there is a small anomaly which I need to correct. This is a bill which I'm supposed to read for the first time. Yes. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Supplementary Appropriations Bill number 4 of 2021 be read for the first time.
Financial. Is a financial, a certificate of financial implication attached?
Madam Speaker, the bill is accompanied by the certificate of financial implications, which I beg to lay on table also. Thank you.
Is it seconded? Seconded by who?
The supplementary appropriation number 4 bill 2021.
The bill is referred to the Committee of Budget under Rule 129 of the Rules of Procedure. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right, Honourable Speaker, on the 29th of September 2021, two supplementary appropriation bills were laid in the House, namely Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 2, 2021, which pertains supplementary expenditure approvals for financial year 2018-2019, and the Supplementary Appropriation number 3, Bill of 2021, which pertains the expenditure approvals of financial year 2019-2020. Right, Honourable Speaker. 4 months since they were laid, and no report have been made to this House. And this is contrary to Rule 129 of our Rules of Procedure. Right, Honourable Speaker. Today the Minister is laying number 4. We have no report on 2 and 3. In utter contravention.
When was 2 and 3 laid?
On the 29th of September 2021. Honourable Speaker, a little matter is that the Auditor General already closed off and reported to Parliament regarding financial 2018-19 and 19-20, when the appropriation process was still incomplete. Because until a report is brought to the floor, the process is incomplete. But the Auditor General has already reported on those 2 financial years. But, Honourable Speaker, this raises issues regarding the implication of the bills when passed by Parliament, given the fact that we are now in 2021-2022, which the Minister has presented. Right, Honourable Speaker, the procedural matter, specifically under Rule 43, whether it would not be procedural right that the chairperson of the Budget Committee briefed the House on the status of the 2 bills and the implication they would have when passed or rejected by Parliament. Remember, we are in a new financial year. The 4th appropriation is being laid. 2 and 3 have never been reported upon. That, Honourable Speaker, are we proceeding right? Is the Minister of Finance alive to this procedural anomaly that has the potential of descending us into procedural illegality as a House?
Honourable Nankabira.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, and I want to thank Honourable Matthias Impoga for the pertinent issues he has raised. Right Honourable Speaker, I thought that when this bill is tabled for first reading, the relevant committee will be able to process it, see whether the issues, for example, that are raised by the LOP cannot be raised there when the minister appears with his team to interface with the committee. That committee should come here with a report, and probably at committee stage or the second bill's second reading. Wouldn't it be procedurally okay to move along that line? The committee receives this bill and then brings the report. I'm just seeking for your clarification.
What Honourable Mpuga is saying is really correct. It's a correct position. However, the committee had some very unavoidable circumstances that they reported to us on what was happening, and maybe the chairman can say a word, but we regret the unavoidable circumstances.
But
you know what we've been going through. There are some people who could not even come near each other because of, what was happening. But now that we are able to recollect ourselves, the report is going to be presented. We should be able to give them a timeline. Now that they are even finishing the budget framework paper, just bear with us.
Madam Speaker, maybe before the chair responds to also, because we have also been getting complaints from the entities who we passed money under the supplementary, that apart from the two supplementaries that we passed here, that apart from State House, they have never received the money. Yet at that time they were showing us the sources of funding for the supplementary. Maybe the minister and the chairperson
Members,
that.
let's try to move faster. Money can only be given when it is there. You cannot give what you don't have. But the money will be available. The money is going to be available. Let me hear from the chairman. But really, after I've apologized for and on behalf of the institution, just make a clarification.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Well, as I can understand the circumstances of the committee, I cannot understand the failure of the Minister of Finance to understand the implications of a reported upon financial year and closed by the Auditor General by simply proceeding to the House without even asking what became of the former bills, the two bills, 2 and 3, to which you are supervisor. So, whereas the committee has business to transact, but I thought the minister would take responsibility too, as a supervisor of this entity, to ask of these reports and should have desisted coming to the floor of Parliament with the backlog. Because what's the implication of us deliberating upon 4, when 2 and 3 already are pending? And remember, the danger is that the Auditor General reported closed the financial year when there's unfinished business. So probably a comment by the minister would also help us to know how to proceed, because I can see very serious flaws in the way we are processing this business, Right Honourable Speaker. We need assurance from the minister whether he actually understands what we are doing.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I spent some time with Honourable Matthias Mpuga in the Public Accounts Committee. I therefore clearly understand and appreciate what he is talking about. Right Honourable Speaker, I think sometimes from these debates we pick lessons which can help this House in future. And also, like he says, when the Auditor General does his reports, we normally use his recommendations to improve systems and methods of work. How I wish that as you have guided, we take this as a lesson, and going forward, we do things differently. I beg to submit.
Thank you. You've learned your lesson, and it's not about the winner or loser. It's about a learning process on how we correct our processes and how we correct each other. And budget committee, you should also take note of that. Next item. He has nothing to add.
Item 3, bills first reading, Roman 2, the Electricity Amendment Bill 2022.
Honorable Minister of Energy, Mineral and Mineral Development.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. I beg to move that the bill entitled the Electricity Amendment Bill of 2022 be read for the first time. And I have the certificate of financial implication.
Please lay it.
I'd like to lay it on the table.
The bill stands to be referred to the Sectoral Committee of Natural Resources in accordance to the Rule 129. It is seconded. Is the bill seconded? It is seconded by Rita, Solomoni, Dr. Nekesa, Seungu, Honorable Bahati, Honorable Biga, Honorable Cheptoris, Kalwanga. So the bill is referred to the Committee of Natural Resources.
The Electricity Amendment Bill 2022. Item 4 on the other paper, statement by Minister on the fuel crisis in the country.
Members, have you got the document on your iPads? Is it downloaded? Listen. And strictly, I will allow a debate on this for only 20 minutes. And if you want more time, I am making a request. If you want more time, then we defer it for Tuesday. Why? We have a constitutional date to meet. We have a constitutional date to meet, and this is a very crucial thing that we must really handle with care. We have the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility now. We have a budget framework paper that we must finish today. So if members want to debate this issue of fuel crisis, which has affected everybody, then we refer it for a Tuesday.
Madam Speaker.
If you want to debate, I will give you 20 minutes. Yes?
We can have
Anyway.
the statement presented, and
Anyway.
as you have guided,
The
have a
power on
limited
the
debate,
on the other
and
paper.
then if you allow, we continue the debate next week.
Can we have it uploaded on our read it, and then we debate it on Tuesday. Next item. Next item.
Item number 4, motion for adoption of the report of the Budget Committee.
Yes, Tinka.
Madam Speaker,
Tinka, you came on a bicycle. Where is it?
whereas we agree with your ruling, Right Honorable Speaker, that she can make a presentation and we do a debate, we would also pray that as we wait for the debate on Tuesday, critical decisions be taken. Because the issue of fuel is adversely affecting the economy of this country and adversely affecting every sector. So if we keep saying we postpone, Ugandans are becoming very desperate, including us members of parliament. The other day I had to ride a bicycle to come to work. I would not want to continue to ride a bicycle. Then I am knocked by these people who have lead cars. No, I will be knocked by these people with lead cars.
Order, Madam Speaker. Order, Madam Speaker. The order is very clear.
Yeah,
the Speaker has already ruled and he's continuing to make arguments.
Thank you, Honorable Tinker. The information I would like to give to the House. Right Honorable Speaker, currently in the villages, there are no bars of washing shops in the villages. And right now, the price of a bar of soap in my district is at 10,000 Uganda shillings. Right, Honorable Speaker, the scarcity of fuel
Honorable
is
Gilbert.
affecting everything in this
Honorable
country.
Gilbert Olanya
Yes, right, Honorable Speaker.
of Kilaka.
Yes,
Can you have a seat?
thank you.
I made a ruling that the report will be presented, debated upon, resolutions arrived on Tuesday. For now, I'm the chair. Yes. So can we go to the next item?
Item 5, motion for adoption of the report of the Budget Committee on the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility and Economic and Fiscal Update for the financial year 2021-22 to financial year 2025-26.
Honorable members, Honorable Nankabiro, we're in the House. Honorable members, Section 4 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 provides for the development of a national fiscal policy based on the number of principles, which include sufficiency in revenue mobilization to finance government programs, maintenance of prudence and sustainable level of public debt, management of fiscal risk in a prudent manner, efficiency, effectiveness, and value for money in expenditure, and consistency in medium-term expenditure framework in the National Development Plan, among others. The Charter of Fiscal Responsibility, therefore, is a government strategy to ensure that the fiscal balances and the total public debt level are sustainable over a medium term and a long term. Section 5 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 requires the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to table a Charter of Fiscal Responsibility for parliamentary approval. And that's what we are doing today. Within 3 months after the first sitting of Parliament after the general elections. We are late on that. We do apologize for that. On 9 September 2021, the Minister of Finance tabled the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility and was referred to the Committee of Budget in compliance with our rules of procedure. Given the import of the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility, it is prudent that the House considers the prior consideration of the National Budget Framework Paper so that we can ensure that the National Budget Framework Paper is consistent with the Charter. And that's why we are looking at the Charter before we look at the Budget Framework Paper. Accordingly, I invite the Chairman to present the committee report on the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. And since this is the first sitting of the year, Happy New Year, everyone. Right Honorable Speaker and members, the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility, which refers as CFR, and the Economic and Fiscal Update, which is abbreviated as EFU, were presented in the House on 9 September under Section 5, Subsection 5 of PFMA Act 2015, and it was referred to the committee. Right Honorable Speaker and members, the background to this, that the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility says a framework for economic management in order to attain socio-economic transformation while maintaining macroeconomic stability. The purpose of this charter is to enhance credibility, predictability, and transparency for fiscal policy. The charter fosters fiscal responsibility through numerical fiscal rules or objectives based on the following principles set out in Section 4, Subsection 2 of PFMA. See as the Speaker has elaborated on that. One, to support the social economic transformation agenda while ensuring macroeconomic stability and the fiscal sustainability during the period for financial 2021-22, financial 25-26, government has proposed to adopt the following measurable fiscal objectives. Objective number 1, public debt in nominal terms is reduced to below 50% of GDP by financial 2025-26 as shown in the table. Honorable Speaker and the members, this charter was uploaded. I hope members are all there. If you can look at that small table, nominal debt to GDP, financial 2021-22, 52.7%, 22-23, 53.1%, 23-24, 52.4%, 24-25 is 51.2%, and the 25-26 is 49.3%. Objective number 2, the overall fiscal balance, including grants, should gradually adjust to a deficit of not exceeding 3% of GDP by 2025-26 as shown. It has indicated the overall fiscal balance, including grants. 2021-22 is negative 6.4. 2022-23 is negative 5.4. 23-24 is negative 4.6. 24-25 negative 4.2. 25-26 3%. Objective 3, a maximum of oil revenue was 0.8% of proceeding year estimated non-oil GDP outturns shall be transferred to Petroleum Fund for budget operations. The balance shall be transferred to Petroleum Revenue Investment Reserve for investment in accordance with PFMA 2015 as amended. It is important to note that the charter takes into consideration the start of commercial oil production in 2024-25. Therefore, the measurable fiscal objectives are mindful of the existence of petroleum revenues in the medium-term fiscal framework. Methodology, members, you can read that. We adopted a methodology. We looked at document PFMA Act as amended, National Development Plan 3, East African Monetary Union Protocol 2013, Public and Other Financial Liabilities Management Framework, Financial 2018-2019 to 2020-23, Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy for Financial 2021-22, Domestic Revenue Mobilization Strategy for Financial 2019-20 to 2023-24, Opposition Response to the CFR, September 2021, Stakeholders, Consulted Minister of Finance, Bank of Uganda, National Planning Authority, Economic Policy Research Center, Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, and Office of Leader of Opposition. performance of the first charter for fiscal responsibility for the period financial 2016-2017 to 2021. The measurable fiscal objectives of the first charter include: 1, Objective 1, government fiscal balance including grants should reduce to a deficit of not greater than 3% of GDP by 2020-2021. Objective number 2, public debt in net present terms is maintained below the 50% GDP, of which net present value of external debt is maintained below 30% of GDP, and the net present value of domestic debt is maintained below 20% of GDP. The committee observed the following. An assessment of fiscal outturn against fiscal target indicates deviation from the proposed CFR. CFR is Charter for Fiscal Responsibility. The first one. As at the end of financial year 2020-21, the fiscal deficit, including grant, was Uganda shillings 14,563.6 billion, equivalent to 9.8% of GDP, while the present value of public debt was reported at Uganda shillings 33,362.55 billion, equivalent to 39.38% of GDP. This indicates that only Objective 2 of the first charter was met. So the table highlights that because the deficit went beyond. The fiscal deficit expanded from 7.1 in financial year 2019-20 to 9.8 in financial year 2020 following the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. This was driven by revenue shortfalls caused by slowdown in economic activity and increased fiscal expenditure requirements required to meet the impact of COVID-19 crisis. Members can read table 1 and look at the fiscal deficit over the first charter period was substantially financed through increased external and domestic borrowing. Present value of external and domestic debt as a percentage of GDP grew from 14.4% and 12.7% respectively in financial 2016-2017 to 22.5% and 16.8% respectively in financial year 2020-21. A fiscal deficit financed by domestic borrowing has a huge implication on cost of doing business due to its effect of crowding out of the private sector in the credit market, and consequently lead to high interest rates or higher cost of capital. It's well known that one of the bottlenecks to the development of the private sector is limited access to and the cost of capital. Therefore, domestic borrowing should be discouraged. Members look at the summary of fiscal operations from financial 2016-2017 to financial 2020-21, table 2. And the table 3 look at the financial operations, fiscal operations for the same period, financial 2016-2017, 2020-2021, those two tables. 4.0, committee observations and the recommendation on the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility for financial 2020-21 to financial 2025-26 compliance with legal requirement. Compliance with legal framework, Roman 1, submission of CFR to Parliament. Section 5.1 of PFMA 2015 requires the CFR to be submitted to Parliament not later than 3 months after the first sitting of Parliament following the general elections. The first sitting of 11th Parliament was held on 24th May 2021, and the CFR was submitted on 9 September 2021, 16 days after splitted time. The committee sought an explanation from Minister of Finance on this anomaly, and the Minister provided an explanation to the committee. The committee recommends that in accordance with Section 78(1) of PFMA Act, the Minister responsible for finance should also make a report to Parliament on failure to meet the requirement of the PFMA Act. 2, Roman 2, Section 5(1)A, subsection I of PFMA 2015 expressed that the CFR shall provide a statement indicating measurable objective for fiscal policy for a period not less than 3 years, of which are consistent with principles set out in Section 4 of the PFMA as amended. The committee observes that the CFR is specified for a period of 5 years, fiscal years, 2021 to 22, 25, 26, and therefore it is consistent with the law. Number 3, methodology to be used to measure performance. Section 5(1), subsection A2 of PFMA 2015 expressed that the CFR shall provide an explanation of the methodology to be used to measure the performance of government against the fiscal policy objectives required in subsection 1A, sub 1. The committee observes that Chapter 4 of the CFR provides an explanation of the methodology to be used to measure the performance of government against the fiscal policy objectives. Number 4, Roman 4, sources of data. Section 5(1)A, subsection 3 of PFMA 2015 stipulates that the CFR shall provide a list of the sources of data to be used to report development against fiscal objectives required in subsection 1A(1). The committee observes that the Chapter 5 of the CFR provides for the sources of data for monitoring the performance of the fiscal measurable objectives in this charter, therefore it is consistent with the law. Number 5, macroeconomic and fiscal projections. Section 5(1)A, subsection 4 of PFMA express that the CFR shall provide a demonstration of how the fiscal objectives set under subsection 1A, sub 1 are consistent with the principles set out in section 4 using macroeconomic and fiscal data. Assumption and projection provided in the economic and fiscal update referred in subsection 1B. The committee observed that the economic and fiscal update provides macroeconomic and fiscal projection for 5-year period of the CFR. The format of the CFR, section 5(7) expressed that the CFR should be in the format provided in Schedule 2 of the PFMA 2015 as amended. The committee observed that the CFR has been provided in the format prescribed in PFMA as amended and therefore compliant with the law. So members, you can read the format and all those that is included. 4.2, consistency with National Development Plan. The overall goal of NDP3 macroeconomic management is to accelerate and sustain inclusive economic growth while maintaining macroeconomic stability and debt sustainability. The macroeconomic objectives underpinning the strategy include, among others, 1, pursuing a prudent fiscal policy with the aim of supporting macroeconomic stability consistent with the regional and domestic financial fiscal rules. This includes a ceiling on debt to GDP of 50% in present value terms and a gradual achievement of a fiscal deficit of 3 percentage points by 2024-25. Domestic revenue annual growth of 0.5% of GDP. The committee observed that the two fiscal objectives of the CFR, mainly total debt to GDP in nominal terms, is reduced to below 50% of GDP by the financial 25-26. The overall fiscal balance, including growth, should gradually adjust to a deficit not exceeding 3% of GDP by 2025-26, in principle consistent with NDP 3. However, the CFR fiscal deficit target of 4.2% in financial 24-25 is not consistent with NDP 3 and the East African Community Convergence Criteria target of negative 3% by end of by financial 24-25. This raises an implication on implementation of NDP 3. This could therefore imply that NDP 3 is reviewed in line with CFR. Revenue mobilization 4.3. The committee observed that Uganda has implemented a wide range of tax and non-tax reforms, which are meant to form the foundation for strong revenue outcomes. These reforms, together with compliance incentives, have resulted into increase in revenue to GDP growth from 11.9% in financial 2016-2017 to 13.3% in financial 2021. However, the revenue mobilization efforts have been largely hindered by existence of large informal sector that constitutes about half of economic activity. Tax to GDP has marginally grown from 11.5% in financial 2016-2017 to 12.4% in financial 2021, despite government incentives like tax registration enhancement program, TREP, that commenced in 2015-2016, and the domestic revenue mobilization strategy 2019-2020 to 2023-2024. In this regard, the committee recommends that government strengthen the implementation of domestic revenue mobilization strategy and an evaluation of domestic revenue mobilization strategy be carried out in order to ascertain its efficacy. In addition, government committee recommends that the local government domestic revenue mobilization strategy currently under formulation be fast-tracked and implemented to support revenue mobilization effort at the sub-national level. The committee recommends a speedy formulation of tax policy to guide revenue mobilization effort, domestic areas. The committee observes that whereas government has implemented several measures to tackle the problem of areas, including implementation of commitment control system, the total stock of domestic areas has grown from 517 billion in financial 26 to 27 to 4.1 trillion as of financial 2019-2020. It should be noted that out of this stock of domestic areas amounting to 4.1 trillion, only 1.68 trillion has been verified by Auditor General as at 30th June 2020. Main reasons for all these areas: one, court awards; number two, diversion or use of funds for the purpose other than what they have that were intended for; salary shortfalls caused by MDAs enrolling in new staff on integrated personal and payroll system; arbitrary and erroneous drop-offs of staff from the payroll interdiction restatements after a very long time. Pension and gratuity areas caused by delay in processing pension files beyond a financial errors and inaccuracies on the pension payroll and weaker accountability for pension funds. 5, insufficient budget allocation for utilities and other mandatory recurrent expenditure and failure by MDS to install prepaid meter. Budget shortfall for counterpart funding development budget. And non-remittance of tax deduction of salaries, pay as you earn, and development projects withholding tax by some of the accounting officers. Now the committee recommends the following. 1, government tracks the verification of all outstanding domestic areas. B, clear all the verified domestic areas within a period of 3 years. C, section 78 and 79 of PFMA as applicable fully enforced for accounting officers who commit government to an expenditure outside the approved cash flow plans and the quarterly cash flow projection. Government should buy for utilities, obligations, salaries, pension, gratuities, and other compulsory obligations. Otherwise, deduction should be made at a vote ceiling to clear outstanding. 4.5, audit of petroleum fund. The committee observes that the petroleum recovery costs have not been audited for the last 6 years. However, government cannot be able to realistically quantify the recoverable costs by the petroleum companies involved in the petroleum exploration. If not tracked, these costs may escalate to unmanageable levels and impact on revenue generation from petroleum. We recommend, therefore, that the Auditor General should fast track the audit of recoverable costs since 2016 to date to establish credible recoverable costs. 4.6, public debt. The total stock as at end of December 2020 was United States dollars 17.96 billion, equivalent to 65.83 trillion, compared to 13.3 billion dollars at the end of December 2029. This represents an increase of 35% in debt stock. This increase was an account of a rise in external borrowing and a disbursement to address socio-economic impact of COVID-19, as well as growth in domestic debt issuance to finance fiscal deficit. The normal debt to GDP as at December 2020 stood at 47.2% compared to 38% as of December 2019. In this regard, therefore, one of the factors driving up the cost of borrowing is proportional non-concessional debt. While concessional loans will make up 50.8% of external debt stock, same concessional loans still make up I beg your pardon, same concessional loans from China Exim Bank have rapidly grown over time and now makes up to 23.4% of debt stock. Unlike concessional loans from IDA and the ADF, that is African Development Fund, not the other ADF. The two largest lenders, which have interest below 1%, Chinese loans come with interest rates averaging to 2%. Debt sustainability analysis indicates that Uganda is not under debt distress.
Members, I want to advise you, we have a very important...
And they will not do the same?
We have a very important document coming. The National Budget Framework paper. So the members who are going away should not blame us who remain here. Don't say we're not considered. Go ahead, summarize.
However, in this regard, we recommend that the government should explore means of contracting concessional deals other than non-concession, and the two option of debt swap, if possible. Fiscal risk. The committee observed that the PFM indicates a fiscal principle on management of fiscal risk in a prudent manner, and that the objective of the CFR must be based on. However, the committee was formed by Bank of Uganda that contingent liabilities like government loan guarantees, government back guarantee schemes, legal proceeding, termination clauses in public-private partnerships are not part and parcel of public debt stock, and consequently have not been considered in the current objective of the CFR. The committee recommends that this principle should be enforced with specific objective on managing of fiscal risks, such as putting a cap on government guarantees, the size of public-private partnership commitments, and other contingent liabilities that are not captured in the public debt statistics. And once these materialize, they form part of debt. Value for money audit, we have an observation. It is part of what the Right Honourable Speaker read as the last one. And we note here, however, that since March 31st, 2009, the first set of value for money audits were submitted to Parliament. Auditor General submitted 118 value for money audit reports to Parliament to date, of which 29 value for money audit reports have been discussed. The committee therefore recommends that Parliament fast tracks the consideration of the value for money audits, and this would support attainment of the objective CFR in line with fiscal policy principle, fiscal council. There is a proposal that we observe that in order to effectively monitor and formulate credible fiscal policy, there is a need to strengthen the institutional mechanism governing fiscal policy through an independent fiscal council. So we propose that we establish a fiscal council as an independent body. The Honourable Speaker and the Honourable members, we looked at costs and what government is proposing to merge some of the institutions, and we proposed that the budget office, parliamentary budget office, is mandated to undertake this function. So there's a need to strengthen it, the budget office, to carry out this function. 5.0, propose amendments to the charter. The committee proposed the following amendments to the charter. 5.1, objective 1, public debt. A, the total public debt in nominal terms is reduced below 50% of GDP by 2025-26, of which domestic to total public debt shall not exceed 34%, while external debt to total public debt should not exceed 66%, as shown. Members, that small table indicates. Justification. This is in line with the public and other financial liabilities management framework for financial 2019-20, 2020-23. The committee proposed that the public debt in nominal term is disaggregated to ensure that both external and the domestic debt level can be explicitly monitored at prudent levels to support a strong and sound economy. Proposal number 2, total domestic debt interest payment to total revenue excluding grant is reduced to 12.5% as shown in the table. There's that table, honorable members. Justification. Government has focused on solvency indicators in setting the charter's objective. Solvency indicator determines the country's ability to meet its debt obligation in the future, while liquidity indicator, on the other hand, determines the country's ability to pay its debt now. It's against this backdrop that the committee thought it necessary to include a liquidity indicator that is consistent with public debt and other financial liabilities management framework for financial year 2019-2020-2023. C, government borrowing from Bank of Uganda will cease by 2025-26. Justification. Government borrowing from Bank of Uganda can be inflationary if Bank of Uganda cannot fully mop the excessive liquidity created by government borrowing from the central bank. In addition, mopping additional liquidity is costly in terms of interest payment, which in turn erodes Bank of Uganda capital. In this regard, and in line with the requirement of the East African Monetary Union Protocol, a commitment to fully phase out government borrowing from Bank of Uganda should be targeted. Now, members, you've been receiving here requests to recapitalize Bank of Uganda. This is one of the causes. Number D, nominal publicly guaranteed debt to GDP is maintained below 5%. Justification, contingent liabilities pose a physical risk to the government. A contingent liability is a possible obligation that arises from the past invest and whose existence will be confirmed only by occurring or non-occurrence of one or more uncertain future events not wholly within the control of an entity. These contingent liabilities may result in expenditure by government to settle confirmed obligation of the entity. To ensure that government total public debt exposure remains sustainable, the committee thought it prudent to include this objective. That is consistent with the public debt and other financial liabilities management framework 2019-20, 2020-2023. Objective number 2, 5.2, fiscal balance. In addition to the current objective 2 of the CFR, the committee proposed 2 additional sub-rules or objectives as follows. A, the ratio of non-oil to GDP shall grow by at least 0.5 percentage points on an annual basis as shown in the table. There is the table there, members. Justification. Section 4.3 of PFM A 2015, the minister is mandated to set measurable fiscal objectives based on the fiscal principles highlighted in Section 4.2 of PFM A. The first fiscal principle, as per Section 4.2, is sufficient in revenue mobilization to finance government program. The committee observed that there is no explicit fiscal rule relating to first fiscal principle sufficient in revenue mobilization. It's against this backdrop that the committee proposes an additional fiscal rule or objective in line with fiscal principle of sufficient in revenue mobilization to finance government program. It is important to set a rule that would foster government to enhance its revenue effort. B, the growth rate in recurrent expenditure as a percentage of GDP shall not exceed the growth rate of revenue, excluding oil revenue as a percentage of GDP. Justification, this fiscal objective will ensure that the rise in recurrent expenditure matches the efficiency in revenue mobilization. By default, expenditure increases are supposed to be in line with growth in revenue collection. Objective 3, 5.3, petroleum fund transfers to the budget and the petroleum revenue investment reserve. The principle in section 4.2d of PFMA Act, PFMA 2015, relates to the management of revenue from petroleum resources and other finite resources for the benefit of the current and future generation. The committee observed that the proposed measurable objective number 3 is selective, given that it targets only the petroleum fund, leaving out other finite natural resources, particularly minerals. This underplays the contribution of the mining sector to the economy. In this regard, the committee noted that this fiscal rule on petroleum and other finite natural resources are necessary because of the need to insulate the budget from volatile revenues from the extractive industry that could cause harmful macroeconomic effect. In this regard, the objective number 3 of CFR is amended to align with section 4.2d of the PFMA as amended. It says, next is, in addition to objective 0 of the CFR, the committee proposed an additional rule to cater for mineral revenue as follows. A maximum of minerals revenue was 0.8% of preceding year estimated non-oil GDP outturn shall be for budget operation. The balance shall be saved for both current and future generation. In addition, the committee recommends that government fast tracks the quantification of the present minerals and the establishment of minerals fund and minerals revenue. Justification: this is in conformity with section 4.3 of PFMA, which has that measurable objective. Deviation from the charter, but I'm about. Section 7 of the PFMA, that the minister, with the approval of Parliament, divert from the objective of the CFR, where government experiences a natural disaster, unanticipated severe economic shock, or another significant unforeseen event that cannot be funded from contingency fund or other funding mechanisms provided in this act, or using prudent fiscal policy adjustment. The committee observed that whereas it may be obvious to determine a significant natural disaster that has occurred, it's not clear obvious to determine severe economic shock. In this regard, the CFR should provide a quantifiable and measurable indicator of what constitutes to economic shock. The committee recommends that the charter be amended to incorporate the following definition of a severe economic shock. A severe economic shock, that's a definition, constitutes unexpected or unpredictable events resulting into a large-scale economic downturn, measured by a contraction in real GDP by over 1% for at least 2 consecutive quarters in a quarter-to-quarter comparison from the previous period. Justification: this definition is consistent with the previous charter, the first charter. It is already in the first charter, and it's more quantifiable, measurable definition that will support effective monitoring of the charter. Conclusion: the objective of the Charter for Fiscal Responsibility is to ensure that government is fiscally responsible, transparent, and accountable in its fiscal decision-making. Fiscal responsibility is about ensuring that fiscal decisions are not dominated by present considerations at the expense of the future ones. I therefore request that this House adopts the recommendation and the proposed amendments by the committee. Honorable Speaker and members, I beg to report.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson of Budget Committee.
So there are some attachment annexes, members. Those are figures you can read for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. And can we first hear from the Shadow Minister? You may simplify our work.
Right Honorable Speaker, we came up with a response to the budget framework paper, which Parliament referred to the Budget Committee. And in the Budget Committee, we had a back and forth discussion about the principles. And there was deep interaction both with the government side over several occasions. So the report presented here by the chairperson is a harmonized report.
Thank you.
We largely think this report will help this country in revenue mobilization, debt sustenance, and efficient running of government. So we largely agree with the principles and in the spirit of compromise of what the committee has presented. And with
Thank
that,
you.
Right Honorable Speaker, if we find it fit, because we have a tight schedule, I beg you put a vote.
Members, we've learned to have a working relationship here of harmonizing issues before we come to the House. Does the Minister have something to say?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I agree with the spirit of harmonizing positions before we come to the House. However, Right Honorable Speaker, the harmonization which Honorable Chivumbi is talking about probably was the harmonization between him and the committee, not between him and us as Minister of Finance. Therefore, I beg Right Honorable Speaker to make a few comments. I want to start with the clear one, where we disagree strongly. The idea of 8%, introducing 8% on revenue from minerals. Madam Speaker, we strongly disagree with
procedure. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the ministries do submit their request to us, and the House normally send those reports to the relevant committees for processing and scrutinizing, and return those reports to us. It is important that the ministry should understand that Parliament has a duty to understand what they actually want the money for. And once the committee has processed your document and has come with a common report, are you trying to say that you are writing a minority report as the ministry on this document? Because the committee has harmonized its position. We don't have a minority report on this. And we are all very excited that for the first time, the Budget Committee has come with a unified position. So this is a success. And I thought the ministry should stand and applaud the budget committee for the first time to come with a unified position. Right, Honorable Speaker. I only wish the Chief Whip could allow the Speaker Right, Honorable Speaker, I think the House should now understand how we should work. As a Parliament, Parliament must listen to the voice of the committees. And now the committees have said, for us, we have agreed and disagreed, but we have agreed to come with a unified position to make our work easy. And that's why we are not bothered to even delay your report to debate. So what is your problem? Now the ministry is complaining. So what do you want us to do? Right, Honorable Speaker, I think it's better you come up with a strong position on this, because the moment we falter on this, that is now going to be the trend. So the moment the committee has resolved its differences at the level of discussions and agreeing, I think we must adopt that position. Right, Honorable Speaker, I stand today to congratulate the Budget Committee, and I pray that other committees will do the same, so that we don't have to spend too much time debating the differences. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Cecilia. And I think whatever was done is in good spirit. And if the committee is chaired by your own from NRM, and if, I don't know, did you go to the committee? Did they call you to the committee? But if you have some slight change that you feel you're not comfortable with, those are things you can go and harmonize. This is not the final document.
Right, Honorable Speaker and members, Honorable Minister is trying to object on the income, revenue from minors. And the recent, Right, Honorable Speaker, there is a law before this House on minors, comprehensive one, to fast track the minors. Now, this charter is for 5 years. If we don't set an objective here, that means we have to do it after another 5, assuming now that law is taken into place. He's talking about the anticipation, but we are setting for 5 years. If the issues cannot work midway, there's a provision already, Section 7, where the minister can come here and
make amendment.
divert. That's
Yes.
your submission.
Yes. Honorable Minister, yes, Government Chief Whip.
Thank you, Right Honorable. Right Honorable, the matter raised by the chair of the committee after discussion with the minister, because the minister had raised very many points where he was saying we need to debate. But he has said we can leave those ones, apart from one, which we feel offends Rule 80 of our rules of procedure, where we are saying 0.8% for minerals. But this is a matter which is where we have a bill before the House, and Rule 80 says it is out of order to anticipate a bill by discussion of a motion dealing with the subject matter of the bill on a day prior to that appointed for the consideration of the bill. Also, 2, it is out of order to anticipate a motion, or 3, where in determining whether the discussion is out of order on the ground of anticipation, the Speaker shall regard the probability of the subject matter in anticipation being brought before the House within a reasonable time. So we are saying, Right Honorable Speaker, that we can leave out the rest. But on that one, instead of fixing, we give ourselves time to consider that matter when we come to the bill, the minerals bill, which is before this House. The rest, the minister is not having a problem.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Minister, for giving way. Just I wanted to seek clarification from you. This is a fiscal charter.
For 5 years.
Basically, to deal with the financial discipline based on your promises in the next 5 years. You are talking about a bill, but we still have a law that is yet to be amended.
the Mining Act of 2003. And all that is within the charter is in respect of the existing laws. Do you mean to say that if mention is made on minerals when you have an existing law, you are talking about something that is you are anticipating when we still have a law in place?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the charter we are considering comes from the Public Finance Management Act. And Madam Speaker, the Public Finance Management Act did not envisage revenue from minerals. It only envisaged revenues from petroleum. And that's why we are saying, let's deal with the matters in accordance with the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act, and minerals is not one of them.
Honorable Minister, your issue is on the 0.8 only. Do you agree that's a point of contention? The rest is okay? Yes, Shadow? Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, and I can see why there is an objection to the setting of minerals. We have to be very careful. Uganda's potential in minerals far exceeds our potential in oil. Actually, we agreed on this with the National Planning Authority. This principle, we harmonized it with the National Planning Authority and Bank of Uganda. And these are institutions under you. They actually think, Right Honorable Speaker, I'll give you time. Okay.
Thank you for giving way.
Emat, before you go ahead, when you look at your own report, 5.3, on the other hand, Right Honorable Speaker, the exploration of other finite mineral resources is still ongoing to ascertain the amount which will facilitate the process of determining how much revenue to expect. If it is ongoing, then you should anticipate there should be something. You should plan for it.
Honorable Speaker, Speaker, I wanted to give information to Honorable Kivumbi. I'm aware, and I think the minister should be open on this, that we have already been receiving money from minerals. Right, Honorable Speaker, we are already receiving money from minerals, including gold. So why is the minister behaving as if we are not receiving revenue from minerals?
Right Honorable Speaker, also, the argument is that they are still exploring the potential for mineral is half-truth. Even on oil, we are still exploring potential oil, more potential oil for Uganda. What we have is not definite. Even in the oil bill we've passed, we anticipated more oil going forward. And our capacity is clear. Information?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues. The minerals development is a continuous process. There are some mineral substances which people have already known how much it is in certain areas. And then there is exploration for others which have not been ascertained continues. Others are being mined and we get royalties out of that money. If you look at, say, for oil in the Alberta and Graben, we have done exploration of some area, but where we have got the plots, we have only done 40% out of 100. And the other one, we continue. And we continue on licensing. Even the gold is the same. The iron is the same, iron ores. We continue discovering this. So it is ongoing, but that does not mean that we are not getting the royalties and mineral cash to come. This is coming. Thank you very much.
So, Right Honorable Speaker, is simply confirming my argument that our potential even for oil and mineral is still ongoing, and it will be for eternity. Even Saudi Arabia, even Qatar is still exploring more oil, even Russia. So it is always an ongoing principle. So let us enshrine a principle, and we begin on a road that captures mineral revenue for Uganda. Otherwise, it's crowded in some darkness where we don't know. And this is very positive for government. I don't know why government should fight this. We are trying to clear for you a source of revenue and begin to follow revenue from oil. Our export in oil far exceeded our export in coffee in the last financial year.
For record purposes, can I give you information? For record purposes.
We are moving, the way we are moving, originally I thought we are at par. Now, the way we are moving is not, we may even stay here up to morning. There is a law, there is a provision in the law, deviation from the objective of the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. The minister may, with approval of Parliament, deviate from the objectives in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility, where Uganda experiences a natural disaster, an anticipated severe economic shock, or any other significant unforeseen events. Now, if we are providing the 0.8% in anticipation, where we don't meet or get what we expect, then you come back here and say, we want deviate from what was presented in the House. There is a section that we will not borrow from Bank of Uganda by 2025, 2021, but where we feel we must borrow, we will come back and seek for permission and borrow. It is not cast on a stone.
Speaker, I just want to put on record, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to put on record that in the financial year 2020-21, the mineral production alone contributed $3.5 billion, of which 2.2 was from gold. So it's already on record. Right Honorable Speaker, I know you told us you have a lot of work to do. I beg to move that the question be put.
Honorable Minister. Yes, Shadow. Law.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. First of all, the Honourable Minister needs to understand that the Charter is part of government perspective planning. And in doing so prospectively, there are restrictions. And the essence is to create fiscal discipline along the way in targets and utilization of revenues generated. So for us to be haggling over this, for me, is a bit of a puzzle. And the senior member in the Honorable Golobi should be able to guide the Honorable member to really cease fire and allow this to pass. Because the position is taking actually means that we have to go back to the committee to process this. And if the minister wants us to go back to the committee, I'll allow my members to come back. But of course, in essence, we are delaying an otherwise time-bound process. Because, Right Honourable Speaker, this can't be resolved here. The proposal of the minister have to be subjected back to the committee to reprocess them and consider their implication, the overall, charter. So if he is willing to go back to the committee, I'll ask my minister to proceed to the committee.
Members, I want Honorable Musazizi Ngovi, Mr. Honorable Lugolovi, Chairman, and Shadow. With the law, I'm giving you 5 minutes. Go and harmonize and come back. With the Honorable Cecilia Ogal. Members?
Madam Speaker, I have issues with the minister.
Members?
Despite the fact that the minister is
I'm
complaining.
giving you people 5 minutes. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Honorable members, we had asked in the last sitting before we closed, Leader of Opposition. In the last sitting, we asked the minister to present papers, a memorandum of understanding between the government of Uganda and Bunyoro farmers, and Continental, for the farmers in Bunyoro to be paid. There was a budget of 11 billion that was put aside for the farmers of Bunyoro. However, I am not going to say, since you've laid the document, you go ahead and pay tomorrow. No. I want that document to be looked at by Council Mutembule and Council Nuagawa. And then you report to this House how genuine the MOU is, whether government can commit its money. So you can go ahead and lay, but subject to the confirmation.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable members. Before we went for Christmas, I had been given a task to lay on table the agreements of the two companies that the farmers of Bunyoro supplied tobacco to. And members, Right Honorable Speaker, here with me are two documents, one agreement between the government of Uganda, which is represented by the Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperative, and together with Nima Tabak, one of the companies that received tobacco from the farmers. I beg to lay the first one from Nima Tabak on this floor of Parliament. I beg to lay. The second agreement, Right Honorable Speaker, because of the challenges that we got with Continental Tobacco, who did not agree to sign with government directly, but the money was already in place, and the government was ready to pay, and the farmers were uncomfortable without their monies. So government agreed, under the advice of the Attorney General, to enter into deed of assignment with the farmers directly. So we have had an exercise of 2 weeks in Bunyoro, and we've collected the deeds of assignments. A deed of assignment, Madam Speaker and members, is an agreement directly with the farmers, which later on can be used by government to recover money from the companies if they don't willingly pay. And here with me are 11 districts of which I'm going to lay one by one. I beg to lay the Kakumiro deeds of assignments, Madam. I beg to lay.
Please lay.
I beg to lay the deeds of assignments from Chankwanzi district. I beg to lay. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the deeds of assignments from Mubende district farmers. I beg to lay. I beg to lay the deeds of assignments, one of the biggest, Chikube district. I beg to lay. I beg to lay, Madam Speaker, the deeds of assignment from the farmers of Chiriandongo districts. I beg to lay. Here with me, Madam Speaker, are the deeds of assignments from Kibale districts. I beg to lay. I beg to lay the deeds of assignments from Bulisa district farmers. I beg to lay. With me is the Kagadi district deeds of assignments from the farmers. I beg to lay, Madam Speaker. I beg to lay, Madam Speaker, one of the second biggest, I would say, Hoima district, deeds of assignments from farmers. I beg to lay, Madam Speaker. I beg to lay, Madam Speaker, Masindi district, deeds of assignments from the farmers. I beg to lay. Lastly, Madam Speaker, are the deeds of assignments from Chegegwa districts. I beg to lay, Madam.
Thank you.
Want to thank you so much.
Honorable Minister, can we get a confirmation there that the Attorney General looked at those? Has he signed anywhere?
Madam Speaker, before we went for the deeds of assignments, a team was set in place, which included the Minister of Trade, included the Office of the Internal Auditor General, the Attorney General, and the companies themselves. The table was a very long one, including even the local leaders, the RDCs, and the local LC5 chairpersons, and all the interested parties in the payment of tobacco. So all the stakeholders were on table during the collection of the deeds of assignment, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. And I want to thank the Minister for the job well done so far. I think it is so far so good. But Right Honourable Speaker, this is Dr. Isingo Mamosigwa, Hoima East Division, Hoima Oil City. I've not heard the Minister mention Hoima City. I want her to clarify whether Hoima City is covered under Hoima District, because what I know, we have many farmers who fall under Hoima Oil City.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker.
You know, I asked the Minister to lay what she had brought, the documents, subject to a debate on Tuesday, when our team will bring back the report, whether they are authenticated documents that can warrant us to pay out the money. So let's save all our debates for Tuesday. We'll have you on the order paper on Tuesday, and that's when we will tell you whether you should go ahead and do the payment or not. So, Dr. Singoma, you can have a look at the documents. They are now our documents, so you don't have to worry. And don't ask me, I know Baba wants to talk about West Nile. But that one will also come. That will come. This was a presidential pledge. Have you been in the budgeting process? Can you get involved in the budgeting process and budget for West Nile? Is that okay?
That's okay, Right Honorable Speaker,
Okay.
provided West Nile is on, because in this country it's the leading tobacco producer.
Have it in the
We are
national
happy
budget
that-
framework paper.
We are happy that Bunyoro is being handled, but we don't want West Nile left behind.
You see how Bunyoro was handled. It was a political statement. It was a political statement. But now that we know that West Nile also has the same issue, then we can factor it in the budget. Yes, thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you for the guidance. I wanted to allay the fears of my brothers from West Nile that the Minister of Trade has gone ahead to collect data and information from West Nile, which lists we already have. We've sent them already to the Office of the Internal Auditor General for verification, and which exercise they are going to do in Feb. So we are on track, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6 on the other paper, motion for adoption of the national budget framework paper for the financial years 2022 to 23 to 2026 to 27.
Can we first defer that and go to item 9? I have got a communication from the chairperson. Item 9.
Item number 9 on the other paper, bills second reading, the landlord and tenant bill 2021.
I have got a communication from the chairperson of the committee and the vice. They are disposed. They can't be here today. And they've requested if a member could lay the report on table, and members, you go through the report. Where you have anything contrary to what the amendment is, please pass on that contrary view to Mr. Kema by Monday. We don't want a debate in the House, so that will make a harmonized position. So you can lay the report. You can give it to Okema and Shadow Attorney General.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the report of the Committee on Physical Infrastructure on the Landlord and Tenant Bill 2021. I beg to lay.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Solomon. Love, can I have my people back? Yes, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise on a procedural issue concerning I can call it a stalemate, where we are waiting for our ministers in charge of the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility and our shadow attorney, our shadow minister for the same docket. Madam Speaker, when the report was being presented to us, we were told that it was harmonized position. But unfortunately, after the presentation of the harmonized position, we saw the minister coming up again, not satisfied with some of the parts of that report. So my issue is, Madam Speaker, if something is harmonized, it should be in the best interest of every one of us, that first of all, it saves time. Secondly, because now we thought we were going to save time, but as we are seeing, there's nothing which is pointing to that direction. And Madam Speaker, we are all members of Parliament representing our different constituencies. If there is going to be harmony, let it involve each and every one of us in a way that we can be satisfied, Madam Speaker. I belong to the opposition. It would only be good enough for our shadow minister to come to us and tell us the harmonized position. But sitting here, Madam Speaker, hearing that people had harmonized the position, and me, I'm a member of Parliament representing my people, I'm not part of that harmonized position, and I go on to see confusion on the floor of Parliament, Madam Speaker. I think going forward, if there's any kind of harmonization, the minister should get involved early, not to waste our time, because we are short of time, and there's a more important issue, which is dealing with deadline. So, Madam Speaker, that is my procedural concern, that going forward, we get a better way of organizing this thing, which caters for every member in this Parliament. Thank you.
Actually, that's the better way of organizing it. Honorable Alum. Yes. And as I said before, the budget, the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility is basically looking at the principles. And I don't know why we have sharp arguments, because these are things that we can amend anytime. Parliament has powers to amend according to the law. Yes?
Right Honourable Speaker, in light of what is happening in the House now, wouldn't it be procedurally right to have a short break to allow the harmonization take place and we come back? It is looking ugly, Right Honourable Speaker.
Can we have those people back? If it is debating the report, we debate. If they have failed, please have those people back. Yes?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, if you look at this report, Objective 3, Management of Revenues from Petroleum Resources and Other Finite Natural Resources. Right Honourable Speaker, the point of contention here is between the word natural, the word minerals and petroleum. Right Honourable Speaker, I would suggest two options. Number one, we frame this Objective 3 as petroleum. When we mention the word minerals, that is where we end up capturing quite a number of the minerals in this country, even those that we still do not understand how much they contribute, the revenue and perspective. So for me, I think the report, indeed, there is agreement on the report. However, there is need to be specific on the word petroleum. And this law will be governing petroleum. In an event that the next time this House or the committee makes recommendation, we will now be discussing minerals and be specific, even mention the minerals we are talking about. It would be very wrong to generalize all this and call it minerals, and yet they all contribute in different amounts. I so move, Honourable Speaker. Thank you.
Honourable Abe, do we have any minerals that we get money from, that we earn from? Do we earn from any minerals? Okay, if we earn from any minerals, my thinking is they are talking about the minerals. They have a section where they are talking about the oil, the petroleum. But this one, they are talking about the minerals. They are specific on minerals. The only thing they've not done, they've done a minibus kind of announcement, not gold, this and that. Maybe that's what you needed.
Madam Speaker, the observation by the committee is derived from the Public Finance Management Act, which puts a percentage of 0.8%
on petroleum revenue, or revenue that we shall derive from sale of petroleum resources. In my thinking is that this implies that they are trying to manage the windfall revenue that will come with the petroleum resources. But what the committee is trying to tell us is that we should not limit the 0.8 on petroleum revenues. We should spread it on all mineral resources. But in reality, if by now we've not quantified the amount of minerals where we're going to derive 0.8% or where we expect a windfall, I think as a committee, they should not worry about this windfall, which we have not established at this moment. I'm of the view that we proceed to limit the 0.8% to petroleum revenues, because those ones we are already in the process of identifying what that windfall, which it might come in the next 5 years. If we have not quantified any mineral by now, this clause in the Petroleum and the Public Finance Management Act has no effect in reality. So, Madam Speaker, whether they harmonize or not, I believe whatever they get, the committee should let it pass, allow the minister concentrate on the windfall that will come from petroleum resources, but not all the minerals. Because all the minerals at this moment, we only have gold, which is only tax based on exports. So I don't expect any windfall resource to come from taxation of minerals that we have not quantified by this moment. So, Madam Speaker, I suggest that we let the minister's position stay and we move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I want you to be mindful that this is for 5 years and subject to any changes that come in between there. And as we wait for that team to come back, can we look at item 10?
Item 10 on the other paper, motion for resolution of Parliament to appoint an auditor to audit the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General.
Honorable Kefa.
Well, thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Let me start, before I move the motion, just to give a background to this motion. It's about appointing an auditor for the Office of the Auditor General. The Auditor General is also audited, just like any other organization or institution or entity. Then secondly, the Office of the Auditor General is an institution of Parliament. It's independent, but it's under the institution of Parliament. That's according to the National Audit Act and the Constitution as well. Clarification?
Thank you, Honorable. The clarification I want to ask, now if you appoint this institution or this person to audit the Office of the Auditor General, then who audits that individual or that institution?
Honorable Silwanye, we are appointing a private institution like KMPG, a private firm, to go and audit for us, Auditor General.
So the auditor is, who will be auditing the Auditor General, is ordinarily audited as a private entity. So, as an institution of Parliament, the Office of the Auditor General, the Parliamentary Commission has undertaken the process of recruiting the auditor. They've gone through the required process, which I understand started way back in April last year. Has gone through the, I think, Parliamentary Commission approval, and then finally the Solicitor General approval. So what we need to do now is to do the final approval of the auditor for the office of the Auditor General as Parliament, as an institution, as for the Auditor General as an institution of Parliament. So against that background, I now move the motion for resolution of Parliament to appoint an auditor to audit the accounts of the office of the Auditor General. And this is moved under Rule 56 of the rules of procedure, of our rules of procedure. Whereas Article 163(9) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Section 36 of the National Audit Act 2008 mandate Parliament to appoint an auditor to audit the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General, noting that Parliament is a public entity and all its procurements must be in accordance with the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets, the PPDA Act 2003, aware that in accordance with the PPDA Act and regulations, the Parliamentary Commission, which is the procuring and disposal entity of Parliament, invited bids through the open international bidding method for the procurement of an auditor to audit the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General for a period running from financial years 2021/2022, 2022/2023, and 2023/2024. So for 3 years. Further aware that Messrs. Kisaka and Company, certified public accountants, emerged the best evaluated bidder to provide the audit services. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Parliament that Parliament appoints Messrs. Kisaka and Company, certified public accountants, to audit the accounts of the Office of the Auditor General for the period running from financial years 2021/2022, 2022/2023, and 2023/2024. Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you so much. Is the motion seconded? Seconded by Honorable Muma, Honorable Silwanyi. First, remove the mask. At the end.
Leku Joel.
Joel Leku, William, Mutembule, Aza, Abe, Musime, Isingoma. Thank you so much. Can you speak to your motion? Or you finished?
Actually, there isn't much to add. It's a very straightforward process. It's gone through the... That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm saying something. It's gone through the procurement process as required by the PPDA Act. And there was no objection. It was the bid was displayed as required to give anybody with a contention about the procurement to make their objection or whatever it might be, and there was no problem. And we now come, and it's been approved by the Solicitor General, as I said, so we now just come to the final process of making that final approval, and then after the parliamentary approval, a contract can be issued to Messrs. Kisaka.
Thank you.
Accountant.
Remember what he said is the Auditor General is the staff of Parliament and officers of Parliament, and it would be prudent that much as the auditors, somebody also should be able to audit them, and that is the basis of this motion. And it comes every year. Committee of Finance brings this motion seeking our authority. You see how much authority you have as Parliament. Seeking our authority to allow a firm to be procured to Auditor General. Milton, I'm allowing only 3 people to debate because it's a straightforward thing.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, just like you've stated it, like any other MDA, the Office of the Auditor General draws resources from the Consolidated Fund, hence calling for it to be audited to ensure transparency and accountability. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I do support the motion on the floor that we endorse and approve the red company to audit the Office of the Auditor General. I thank you.
Naloyima Beth.
Thank you so much, Speaker. For me, just before I can go ahead to support, let me just get to know and get assured that the due process has been all followed, so that in time we are not questioned at all in this moment of harmonization. Let me please be assured, just after that, all is going to be okay.
Governments have systems. In this system, the procurement process takes place and it must be authorized by the Solicitor General. Our work is to give permission that go ahead and procure. Ours is not technical. Ours is as per the law, go ahead and procure a person and in a due process. And that is what we are trying to do. That we are giving them permission, but you must do your technical part. Hajat.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker. It's a very good arrangement that everyone should be audited. I just think it's necessary for us to know who is that. Did I hear Kisa? Who is that company? He said it went through international bidding process. Is it a Ugandan company? Is it Kenyan? Is it who is that company before we approve? Because we are here to approve, but who is that I'm going to approve?
We are not approving a particular company. He says there are international companies like KMPG, Ernst & Young. Those are the companies that do audit for Auditor General. Yes?
Right Honourable Speaker, what I want members to know is that the other bit of the work is done by the technical people. And if there is anything that has not been followed, it falls on the technical people. And they must do things right, because we operate within the confines of the laws of this country. And the Office of the Auditor General is under Parliament, and that is why this whole procurement is under the Parliamentary Commission, because we host the Office of the Auditor General. Right Honourable Speaker, now that this was done and followed, would it be procedure right for us to go ahead and approve? Please.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable colleague, for giving way. Unless I misheard the colleague, he said bid process was followed, an international bidding process, and some company was successful, and he mentioned the name, and he wanted us to approve. And I just wonder, is it not right for us to know who that company is, whom we are approving? Unless I didn't hear him well, but a name has been mentioned, and don't hear many of us still remember the name that we are about to approve.
Honourable Tony, you have something to say?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I rise to support the motion that Parliament do give authority for the Parliamentary Commission to recruit somebody to audit the Auditor General, who is a staff of Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, as a member of PAC sometimes back, we were raising this question. And the need for Auditor General's office to be audited came from the need to improve, because audit is to improve something, not only getting faults, but to improve on their work, to bring in new innovations, so that whenever they do auditing, we are sure of the quality of the work they do. Because this has been coming as a result of having sometimes conflict between the Auditor General's report and the entities that they do audit. So I think for Parliament, this is just to enhance improvement of our work, because as they were auditing government, nobody was looking into their house what they were doing. So we thought this was necessary to improve on the work. So I would want to call upon Parliament that let's give the Commission opportunity, but we only request them that all due processes must be followed, and they get for us the best company to do the audit in order to improve the work of Auditor General, and then ensuring that government is performing well. Thank you.
Right, Honorable
Members, I'm not sure whether we should subject this to too much debate. What Honorable Aisha Kavanda Hajat is asking, you said we have already got a company. Is that what you said? And who got the company? Parliamentary Commission got the company.
Right, Honorable. I think what Honorable Aisha Kavanda is asking is very simple and straightforward. Who is Kisaka and the company? Who is Kisaka public auditors? And I think to simplify, it's a Ugandan company. It's a certified Ugandan accountancy firm. And just to assure members that the law actually provides for a very transparent process, and where if anybody, or if other bidders have any objection, they can always petition. And
Thank you, Honorable Kefa.
Just a minute. What Honorable Aisha is asking, who got the company, who is the company, and that kind of thing. As Parliament of Uganda, our role is to pass the principle that an audit company must be got to do the auditing. And as the Commissioner said, the other technical work, we leave it to the technical people. We don't have the competence to know whether this is the best company or not. And of course, when you say parliamentary commission, go to the company. Which parliamentary commission? I am a chair of parliamentary commission. Is it the other parliamentary commission or the current one?
Right, Honorable, as I mentioned, this process has been going on since April last year. So the process has just been concluded now. Now, I'm not sure which part this commission did, but this has been a long and lengthy process.
I have information.
And let me first take this information because it was a fun.
Thank you, Honorable Kefa. We support the idea of having an auditor to audit the Auditor General. That's a good idea. That will bring in the question of value for money. But there was some contradiction a bit when Honorable Silwani talked and said, let's leave the technicalities to the technical people. Now, and he's a commissioner to the Parliamentary Commission. Now it worries us now that Kisaka is in your report. Is it an adoption by the Parliamentary Commission, or it is your own making to propose the same? Because he has left everything to the technical people, and yet he's a commissioner who is supposed to hold parliamentary duties.
Thank you. Can we hear from the minister of Finance.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to share my experience as somebody who chaired the Finance Committee for 5 years, where the Office of the Auditor General was supervised on behalf of the Speaker of Parliament. Madam Speaker, we spent quite a number of years with the accounts of the Auditor General not being audited. And the question arose, who audits the Auditor General? And the response resulted in 2 parliamentary commissions requiring that an external auditor be appointed. Madam Speaker, for the first audits we examined came around 2018. And if I am not mistaken, the same auditor who Dr. Kefa is bringing was the same person who first did the audit. I want to propose to the House, Madam Chair, Speaker rather, that we adopt the principle of auditing accounts of the Auditor General's office. But the question of who does the audit, we allow parliamentary commission time to go back and advertise so that they get an appropriate auditor. By the way, Madam Speaker, auditors do professional work. They shouldn't be even debated in this House. I want to suggest that we adopt the principle and we allow parliamentary commission to get us and the auditor
Members,
to audit the books of the Auditor General. Thank you.
I now put a question. I am putting a question because I believe in the amendment that has been made. I am the chair of parliamentary commission. I have never chaired that committee. You cannot plant a person on us. My other member of the parliamentary commission is here. Have you ever seen that being brought to the commission? We should be given a chance. Other people should be given a chance. I am putting a question.
Can I respond to what the minister has suggested? To be fair.
Okay, go.
Okay, Right Honorable, I have objections to what the minister has proposed. The main objection to that stems from the fact that to get to this process, it's taken close to a year. This process started way back in April, and as you know, I was not involved with the Finance Committee. So it's a very lengthy process. Then secondly, when I mentioned the parliamentary...
Order.
Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the minister has been very clear. What the minister is saying is that we give time to our commissioners to source or to get who is more qualified to do the work. And right now, from this motion, you are imposing the name of somebody called Kisaka and Company, and you want Parliament to resolve and approve this person, which is very wrong, and we are not allowing. Is the honourable member in order to insist on what is clear and what has been resolved? Is he in order, Honourable Speaker?
Information, Madam Speaker.
Honourable members, honourable members.
Information, Madam.
I want to tell you our experience. I want to tell you our very painful experience in that commission. Every time I even fear coming to the house because people will ask you about the new chambers. we were not involved in the new chambers. But we are answering questions for the new chambers. Why should we go and start answering questions for whom we were not involved? What we are saying, let's approve the principle. Then the process of getting a person to do the audit will be done by technical people in our watch. In our watch.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My Honorable Chair of Finance, he knows that we had an argument on appointing Saka as the auditor for the next 3 years. In the committee, we understand there is a pressure to have the accounts of the Auditor General being audited before March, which is like we have 2 months from now. And the process of identifying a new auditor has taken so long. But in one of the meetings, we agreed that as much as we are late for the audit, but we cannot allow a company that has already been there for the last 3 years be renewed for another 3 years without a proper process being followed. It's unfortunate that he has brought it on the floor of Parliament. I wouldn't want to say the details we had in the meeting, but we agreed that we should not approve Chisaka for another 3 years unless we have a new process restarted.
Amendment of the motion.
I suggest this, Madam Speaker. We state the motion, we first, indeed, we first harmonize our positions, then we can think of
Honorable members.
How best we can solve this.
Honorable members, I am giving a question that is very, very clear. I am putting a question that a resolution of Parliament to appoint an auditor to audit the accounts of Office General as a principle be adopted, and other modalities shall be handled by the Parliamentary Commission. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Can we have a report from Harmonization Committee?
Right Honourable Speaker and members, this is the harmonized position for the selected committee members. In our proposed amendment to the Charter, objective number 1, public debt, we had proposed to segregate domestic and external debt percentages to total GDP. This is 5.1 on page 14. We have agreed that we adopt the principle that the public debt to GDP in nominal terms should reduce to below 50% of GDP by 25-26, as Arion communicated.
Yes, Aisha, she has a procedural matter.
Madam Chair, I beg to be guided on procedural issues. The chairperson of the Finance Committee is meant to be here to read the report of the committee, and now he's reading amendments that have been reached out of a few people. Okay.
Honorable Aisha.
I withdraw, Madam
Hajat.
So thank you for your wise ruling. So we drop the proposal to segregate, and we go by government position that debt to GDP in nominal terms reduced to below 50% by financial 2025-26. We concede with the proposal in the earlier submitted charter. Number 2, government borrowing from Bank of Uganda.
Chair.
I think, Chair, just for emphasis, you emphasize that the trend of the table should stay as it is.
Yes, like I've said, we maintain, even with the trend, the projection 52, 53, up to 49.3. Should be maintained. Number 2, government borrowing from Bank of Uganda will cease by 2025, financial 2020, 25, 26. Right, Honorable Speaker and members, we have examined this. And normally government gets some advances at the beginning of financial year as they wait correction from URA. We agree with the proposal to drop this proposal, but with exception, the proposal remains, but with the exception of section 36(5)(a) and B of PFMA as amended, and the section 33 of Bank of Uganda Act. There is exception of those two where government gets advances, we agree. But the other borrowing, like printing of currencies, that one, we maintain that. The last one, Madam Speaker, Objective 3, Management of Revenue from Petroleum Resources and other finite natural resources. We've agreed that a maximum of mineral revenue was 0.8% of the preceding year estimated non-mineral GDP outturn shall be for budget operations. The balance shall be saved for both the current and the future generation. We have agreed on those 3 issues, Madam.
By extension, I'm not disagreeing, but we are saying when a mineral fund has been created. Because we are talking about this percentage on petroleum where we have a fund for petroleum revenues.
Okay. Okay, proceed. Is that the position?
Chair, that's a position we have agreed. Although as they go forward as government, they have got to watch the exception we are creating under the East African Protocol. Uganda is already flagged. And they are urging us to even amend the Public Finance Management Act, but that's the work of government. They are urged to follow that and see it through, that we do prudent management, especially take away the need to liquidate, to always come to Parliament to capitalize Bank of Uganda, because that's what we are trying fundamentally to cure. With that, Honorable Speaker, we largely agreed with those amendments.
Thank you, the Humanization Committee. I now put a question that the report of the Budget Committee on Charter of Fiscal Responsibility be adopted with amendments. Those in favor say and to the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Item 7.
Item 7, report of the 30th Summit of Women Speakers and the 5th World Conference of Speakers held from 6 to 9 September 2021 in Vienna, Austria.
Pardon? What are you reading?
Item 7, motion for resolution of Parliament to amend the resolution of Parliament on the supplementary expenditure schedule number 1 for the financial year 2021 to 2022.
Yes. Honorable members, as you will recall, we adopted a resolution on a supplementary schedule number 1 for the financial year 2021-2022. It has, however, come to our attention that there was a mistake that was made, whereupon the money coming from grants from development partners and locally generated revenue was lumped together. Under Rule 222 Sub-Rule 2 of our Rules of Procedure, a decision of the House can only be reconsidered upon a substantive motion for reconsideration. I therefore invite the Minister of Finance to come and present a motion for that amendment. It has ever happened. It is basically making the amendment, making the change, not anything for debate, but for the record.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move a motion under Rule 56 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament to amend the resolution of Parliament on the Supplementary Expenditure Schedule Number 1 for the financial year 2021-2022. Whereas on 18th November 2021, under Supplementary Expenditure Schedule Number 1 for financial year 2021-2022, Parliament approved Uganda shillings 2 trillion 108 billion 942 million 989.0703 as recurrent expenditure, and Uganda shillings 1 trillion 758 billion 645,054 million 089 as development supplementary expenditure, noting, however, that during the appropriations process, some expenditure categories were erroneously captured as detailed below. 1. Uganda shillings 1.54 billion under vote 005, Ministry of Public Service was appropriated as non-wage recurrent, yet Uganda shillings 720 million is for development expenditure. 2. Uganda shillings 722 million meant for public procurement and disposal of public assets, appeals tribunal, which is a subvention under vote 008, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, was appropriated under Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority. And 3, Uganda shillings 3 billion 560 million GOU counterpart funding for the Albertine Region Sustainable Development Project, project number 1310, under vote 013, Ministry of Education and Sports, was wrongly categorized as procurement, as recurrent instead of development expenditure. As such, the correct allocation for recurrent expenditure should be 50 billion 500 million, and that of development should be 27 billion 110 million. 4. Uganda shillings 134 million 232 147, and Uganda shillings 227 million 069 034 was appropriated as development expenditure for vote 173, Mbarara Referral Hospital, and vote 167, Jinja Referral Hospital, respectively. Yet it is non-wage recurrent, and 5 of the Uganda shillings 99 billion 359 million 293,737 UGFIT funding appropriated Uganda shillings 80 billion 254 million 452,432 is meant for non-wage recurrent, and in Uganda shillings 19 billion 104 million 841,305 for development respectively. However, the entire amount, Uganda shillings 99 billion 359 to 93,737 was inadvertently appropriated as development expenditure. Realizing therefore that there is urgent need to correct the allocation stated from 1 to 5 above for the affected votes. Now therefore pray that this Parliament resolves to amend its resolution dated 18th November 2021 to cater for the above mentioned votes as summarized below and details attached as Annex 1. Recurrent expenditure 132 billion 658 million 451,823,000. Development expenditure 146 billion 934 million 841,305,000. Total 279 billion 593 million 293,127,000. I beg to move, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded? Is it seconded? Seconded by Silwani. Seconded by Tourism, Nandutu, Azat, Musime, Abe, Enos. Members, are you the whole group? UPDF, Rita. Members, we are just correcting a mistake which was made. The money could have already gone, but it is just making the record correct. That's what we are doing. We are not approving for any money to go anywhere, but we are putting the record correct because the committee made a mistake, brought a mistake to this house. We passed the mistake, and that's what we are trying to correct. And that is that. Yes, Laibi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I am not raising anything contradicting what the Honorable Minister said, but Right Honorable, I would like to have clarification from the Honorable Minister. Sometimes back I raised in this House, Right Honorable, a matter concerning local government entities.
Can we first put a question to this? Because now we are mixing two things. Let's put a question to this, then you can raise that one. I now put a question that the motion for resolution of Parliament to amend a resolution of Parliament on a supplementary expenditure schedule number 01 for the financial year 2021-2022 be adopted. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. You can now ask your question.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. So I raise a concern where many local government entities, including Gulu City, fail to perform certain functions simply because they require permission in form of a supplementary to spend local revenues generated far above what was appropriated. And Right Honorable Speaker, you directed the Minister of Finance to make sure that such a matter is addressed. It is unfortunate, Right Honorable Speaker, that to this day, many local governments, and particularly Gulu City, is not able to even have a council meeting simply because they have local revenue that they have generated, but it's redundant, and they are not allowed to use the money they have generated. It is therefore my prayer, Right Honorable Speaker, that you prevail over this matter and cause the Honorable Minister to expeditiously conclude this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. You have an answer?
Madam Speaker, previously we used to allow local governments to budget for local revenue, and we would normally release the money based on their projections. This caused almost a crisis in our cash flow management as a result of local governments overstating their local revenues. And when this happened, we decided that let local governments first collect the money, and once they get the money, they ask for permission to spend the money. There is something it's unfortunate that we have not handled his matter in time, but he has been telling me about it. Normally when a local government has collected its revenue, and we can confirm that this is money which has been generated, they just have to seek authority from us to spend, and which we expressly grant. I want to undertake, Madam Speaker, that on Tuesday next week, early morning at 7:30, if the Honorable Mapenduzi, yes, can come to my office and we resolve this matter without necessary...
Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister, there was a letter written by PSSG to all accounting officers. I remember I was in the park and we were grilling people as why they were not sending money to the consolidated account. All the NTR must be sent to the consolidated account. When you want, you now requisition for it for you to use. Now, in most circumstances, even when you send a requisition, it is not honored. And I think that's what Honorable Mapendusi is saying. So maybe what you need to do as a management of finance, you need to agree what is the way forward. Since when you go to, there's a city, white city there, Mbale, garbage is up to the main road. And when I asked, they said we don't have money. So those are things you need to resolve. It may not be for Gulu alone, but it's all over the whole country. So you need to see how to revise that decision. Whether you leave some percentage of NTR with the local government, or you approve at source and say, fine, keep the money, we will approve how much you will use. That is what you should do. Members, now that the report has delayed, I am adjourning the House to tomorrow at 10. We'll have the House tomorrow, Friday, 28th at 10 in the morning. I want to thank you so much, and God bless you.